Alright everyone, link in the description, archived of course. This is a piece, I'll read a little bit of it verbatim because I do actually agree with the basic political premise. I wanted to start off though talking about the persecution of Donald Trump because it is very much important. Right now we are at a precipice as a republic in which if Donald Trump is found guilty of some of the charges against him, he probably gets reelected. It's good for him, but it also causes political chaos, and that's not something that I want for the Republic. I think he can get reelected without being found guilty of a crime. I think it would boost his chances. This article gets into that again. I'll read a little bit of that out for you. But I don't want that for the nation, because what happens after Trump? We could have a never-ending sort of roll tide of, former executives being prosecuted by current executives to the point where no sane person, no honest person will ever want the office again because of the risk involved. You'll have a permanent neocon, neo-lib, globalist sort of government because nobody will ever be able to get into it anyway. They'll just get endlessly prosecuted and spied on, FISA reauthorization is a thing for a reason, my friends. Let me read a little bit of this verbatim. It's from the New York Post. They tend to lean right, in full admission. Deranged get Trump Democrats only boost ex-president with their constant attacks and insults. The insults probably boost him more because normally it's like, Kathy Griffin holding up a severed head, and that doesn't necessarily optically look good. And some of these people are just egotists anyway, so they don't really care about it. In fact, some of them wish that Trump would be reelected. You think that Stephen King doesn't secretly wish that Trump was back in the White House so he could complain every single day and get more attention? I mean, he's bored with Biden. He can't really criticize him because he's a, lay Democrat. The Get Trump Democrats are beside themselves with glee about the former president being stuck in a Manhattan courtroom for Stormy Daniels' hush money trial, while the current president hits the campaign trail, although, in all honesty, Biden very rarely goes out in public at this point, so it's not as lopsided as it could be. If Biden were 20 years younger, it'd be a big problem, but he doesn't go to many rallies. And he doesn't have many people at them that show up when he does hold one. They have taken to calling Donald Trump Hitler Pig in emails and text messages among White House staff, campaign aides, and other Democrats close to the administration, reported Politico Wednesday. Now, when Politico is reporting something that could be damaging for a Democratic administration, we can probably take it to the bank and assume that it's true. I tend to ignore such reporting because, if it's over the top in any way, I just assume that it's bullshit. But Politico has no reason to attack the Biden administration, so it's rather telling. So much for Joe Biden bringing civility back to politics. That's as believable as his other tall tales, that he stopped inflation and never spoke to his son about overseas business dealings. Or, as I reported the other day, that his uncle in World War II was literally eaten by cannibals in Papua New Guinea. Go back and watch that video. I could not help but laugh on that one. That's the craziest thing Joe's said so far. And that's the most endearing thing about his presidency. I mean, on any given day, he might give me the gift of saying something zany, and that's one less video that I have to dig for. Ironically, the Biden administration does, in a roundabout and weird way, actually benefit me. With Donald Trump, it's more like, okay, well, we're winning again, so there's no crazy news to cover other than maybe his latest tweet, and he's not tweeting anymore. And now, as far as this goes, Joe Biden is crazy, but that's not the subject of the video, of course. The Democrats are hitting themselves in the head with regards to the persecution of Donald Trump. They are quite clearly, they're losing in the optical sense. It's sort of like, with Israel v. Gaza. You don't have to pick a team, but you can understand one side is generally fucking itself harder than the other. It's like a contest to see how hard you can sodomize yourself until your intestines prolapse. Well, the Democrats definitely are doing that with regards to the persecution of Donald Trump. They have overstretched. A lot of independent voters understand this. My problem is that on one hand, you could have a situation where Trump is found guilty of a bunch of felony charges. It's clear-cut persecution. Well, that's clearly wrong. It's also unconstitutional. Some of the charges he's up on don't even make any sense, like with regards to the Jack Smith case with the Mar-a-Lago documents. He was quite clearly entitled to take his homework home with him anyway, so It's not clear exactly, other than persecution, how you could possibly justify the charge in the first place. Jack Smith just wants to be famous. He looks like a Hollywood villain, actually. He looks like he sits on the Imperial Senate or something along those lines. So that's option number one. Option number two, of course, is Donald Trump is completely exonerated, which is what I'm hoping will happen. But the fact that the charges were even brought in the first place is already so damning, already so precedent-breaking, that it almost doesn't matter. And this is not a black pill channel. I am anti-black pill in every possible way. I'm just telling people this hazards the very existence of our republic as a functioning civic entity. Because you could end up with a situation where any incoming president decides to simply persecute the outgoing president if they're from a different ideological group or a different party, ad nauseum. Show me the man, I'll show you the crime. The differential enforcement is the devil. It's not even the full-on legal system with all of its rules, regulations, and other intricacies. It's more the fact that it can be differentially utilized against one person while another person skates. They commit the same crime, but only one person gets investigated. Stuff like that happens. Happens all the time. Liberals normally know this, by the way. They'll say, oh my God, so many more black people per capita are incarcerated than white people. And they'll mention differential enforcement. Well, you know, the white kid had a bit of hash, and the police simply didn't charge him. They just took the hash and they threw it down the sewer and they let him go. But then the black kid over there, he got charged with drug possession. Yes, absolutely. Do you think this can't happen to political figures? Like, it never happens at the top level, only among the little people. Of course it does. If you break the toys, if you step out of line, then you get punished for it. I've committed crimes, drug possession, technically drug sales, but that was without the statute of limitations. That was about 15 years ago, so don't worry too much. They can't prosecute me for that one. I've committed crimes. Most of you have too. At the very least, a few lesser misdemeanors or something like that. Given enough time, given enough resources, and the government has them. They have limitless lawyers and money because they can literally rob your tax money to do this. They can hit you for a crime that you've committed in the last few years at a moment's notice. If you're too much of a dissident, they can find a crime and then they can prosecute you. If you're in the uniparty, that is, you play nice, you make money for the shareholders, which is like Raytheon and Microsoft and shit, then they're not going to prosecute you. You'll never have a problem. Donald Trump is being prosecuted not because he committed crimes, but because he committed crimes allegedly while he was not part of the uniparty. If anything, it solidifies my belief that he really is the good guy in the situation. But it's still naked persecution. It's still wrong. And it still hazards the basic function of our civic republic. It hazards our justice system on an extreme level. I don't think people understand how extreme this is. This has never happened before in the whole history of our country. 250 years of civic and legal precedent were tossed out the window the second that Alvin Bragg got involved with charging Donald Trump over this case. It could make or break our republic. My plea again to any juror or potential juror who sees this in Manhattan, and it's always possible, if there's a 1 in a million chance that I could save the republic by convincing some potential juror to hang the jury, then I'm going to take it. Look up jury nullification and then don't tell the court that you know what it is. And just think about the ramifications for our republic. You may fucking hate Donald Trump. That's perfectly fine. If you're in Manhattan, there's a good chance that you do. Think about what happens when an incoming eventual Republican administration decides to use the same legal machinations and the same persecutorial power against a Democratic politician. Maybe one that you voted for. You like them. You like their ideology. You hate guns too, or whatever. You want more taxes. I don't know why you would, but for some reason, maybe you're brain damaged. They can be persecuted too. You're going to end up with another George W. at some point. You're going to end up with Republican and Democratic administrations. Hell, maybe a third party finally cracks through and we have a new Whig movement that loves tariffs or something like that. You'll end up with that eventually. All things will come to pass. There will be no stagnation within government. Things will change. You're effectively opening a can of worms that you do not want to open because it could crush our republic. We're making it into a banana republic, unfortunately. We'll have more of an economy than just bananas. That's the good part. Our economy will probably be fine. But legally speaking, there will be just persecution a go-go over every administration that's outgoing. So my plea to anyone who serves on that jury, and I hope that at least one of them sees this video. It's unlikely, but it's possible, so I have to make the video anyway. Hang the jury. Find him not guilty. Even if you're convinced that he is guilty, it's too dangerous to our republic to bring that charge against a former president. Even if you fucking hate him. Even if you think he is nothing more than a con man, a fraud, a pimp, a sexual abuser, and all of these things. The damage to the entire country affecting over 300 million people is not worth even punishing him. The charges never should have been brought. I personally don't believe that he engaged in business fraud. If I was on the jury, I would find him not guilty. I'd be unwavering in this. I don't believe there was a hush money payment. The claim is completely spurious, but even if you believe he's guilty, it's not worth punishing him. This would normally be a misdemeanor charge anyway. They artificially upgraded it to felonies in order to persecute Donald Trump. Any sane person can see that. That's about all. Peace out.